Just going to clap, but you did it for me. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. How's it going? How did you do on the quiz you just took? Without knowing what the real answers were, how do you think you did? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middling? You okay? Some thumbs up, some thumbs down. Okay, we've got next week we're having a test over the whole chapter. So make sure you are prepared for that test next week. Okay? Today we are going to be doing construction. Not construction like building a house. Not that kind. We're going to be constructing congruent lines first, congruent segments, and then we are going to be constructing perpendicular bisectors. And I'll talk about all those in just a minute, okay? So here's how the lesson's going to run today. Basically, I've got two examples. The first one I'm going to do for you while you're taking notes and stuff. The second example we're going to do together, okay? And then for homework tonight, you've got some that you are going to do on your own. Yay. Of course, I'm going to be around after school if you need me for any help or anything like that. But let's talk about constructing congruent segments. Put my name up here. And this is period 7. Okay, constructing segments. Here's what you need to do. First of all, do all of you have your compasses with you? Looks something like this. Mine looks something like this. Okay? Because I'm using mine on the board and it's got to be able to be seen. Okay? So here is how you construct a congruent segment. We're going to take this segment, AB, and we are going to make an exact copy of it on ray C here. Okay? So here is how you do it. Go ahead and be taking notes as I'm doing this. We're going to put in 2 steps in order to construct a congruent segment. Number 1, you need to open your compass. To the length of segment AB. Okay? So you take your compass, and your compasses have points on the end of them. Mine has a little bit of sticky tack that I just stuck on there. Okay? I'm also going to be using whiteboard markers rather than the Sonic pen because Sonic pen just isn't quite precise enough for me. Okay? And so what I do is I take the point, okay, and I put it on point A. And then I close up the compass until my pen, or pencil, your pencil, is right on point B. And I'm going to draw a little bit of an arc. Okay? Yes? Your pencil doesn't have any lead. Well, this one doesn't either. So here is a pencil sharpener. Or you can, so would be the easiest thing to do. Okay, open your compass to the length of line segment AB. Okay, second thing you want to do, the second step is, and this is really important, don't close your compass up any. Keep it that same length. Keep the compass open. Let me change colors so it's easier to see. Keep the compass open. And put the point of your compass on point C. And draw an arc on the ray. Okay, here let me show you how that works. Okay, I've got my compass. It's still the same distance from A and B. Now I'm just going to put it down on point C and draw my arc. And as long as you haven't opened or closed your compass, okay, these two lines, you can put a dot there, put a point there. Well, let's call it point D, shall we? Okay, as long as you haven't opened your compass any or closed your compass, we now know that segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Okay, we have constructed an exact copy of segment AB, a congruent copy of it. Okay? You think you got it? Let's try this one together. Okay? First of all, what are we going to do? Let's draw a segment TR that is 25 millimeters long. Okay? So take your rulers. What's 25 millimeters in centimeters? 2.5 centimeters. Okay? On your paper, draw a line segment, TR, that is 2.5 centimeters, 25 millimeters. I am not going to draw mine 25 millimeters because it'll be too small for you to see. Okay? So I'm going to draw mine 25 centimeters instead of 25 millimeters. Okay? 25, mine's 25 centimeters, yours is 25 millimeters, okay? And we are going to, what point is this point here? T. And what point is this point here? R. Okay? So now we've got our segment TR that we are now going to construct a congruent segment. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with my segment S, point S, and I'm just going to start and I'm going to draw a line ahead of time so that I know what I'm doing. And it can be as long as you want, preferably more than 2.5 centimeters. Okay? So now I've got the start of my construct. What's the first thing I need to do to construct, to duplicate segment TR into S? What's the first thing I got to do?
Open your compass.
Open my compass. What's the second thing I'm going to do? Where am I going to put the compass? Yes?
On TR.
I'm going to put it on TR. I'm going to put it on T. And then how far am I going to open my compass?
All the way to R.
All the way to R. Okay? And I'm going to draw an arc. Okay? And so now I've got my arc on TR. What's the next step that I'm going to do? What's the next step? Yes? I'm going to exactly. I'm going to keep my compass open. I don't want to change the size of my compass. And I'm going to put the point on point S. And then what's the last thing I'm going to do? Well, second to last thing, I'm going to draw my arc. And where that arc intersects that blue line is what point? V. It's point V. Okay, and so now we have line segment TR, and it is congruent with line segment SV. And we know that because we have constructed it to be so. Hooray! That's the easy part of the lesson. Yeah. Okay? Now we get to a slightly harder part. Before we get into constructing perpendicular bisectors, I need to go through some vocabulary with you. Yes?
What is the point of making the arc?
Because we know it is where the arc is. Rather than just put a point, if we put an arc, it just helps us figure out exactly where that point is. And as we get to the next thing, we're going to do huge arcs because we're going to need them. So it also gives you some practice on making arcs with your compass. Okay? So here we go. Terminology, some vocab for you. This will be helpful for tonight's homework when you have a little bit of vocab to do, right? How many of you have already finished your vocab for tonight? About 2/3 of you. Well done. Okay, so let's talk about midpoints. Okay, a midpoint is the point. Yeah, I just love it when they include the word in the definition. That's kind of odd. That divides a segment into two segments of equal length. Okay? A point that divides a segment into two segments of equal length. Here's a little sketch of what that would look like, okay? If I have a segment, let's say the segment is AB, okay? And that midpoint is the point right in the middle, we'll call it point C, that divides AB in half. So 1/2 of AB is on this side of the midpoint, and 1/2 of AB is on that point side of the midpoint. Okay? The point that divides the two segments in half. Okay? Segment bisector is a line, a segment, or a ray that goes through the midpoint of a segment. Okay? A line, a segment, or a ray that goes through the midpoint of a segment. So here would be a sketch of what that would look like. Okay? You have, again, point A and point B, and point C is our midpoint. Okay? And our ray, or line, or segment, goes right through that midpoint. Okay? As long as it goes through the midpoint, it's called a segment bisector. Bi, does anyone know what bicycle means? Two, bi. Yeah, so it cuts it in half. Okay? Perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form right angles. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form right angles. So if I have line AB and I have another line CD, if this is a 90-degree angle, and you see I used my symbol for 90 degrees to show that even though I didn't draw it 90 degrees, it is a 90-degree symbol. Okay? These two are called perpendicular lines because they form 90-degree angles, right angles. Okay? The last vocab word that you're going to need to know for tonight, perpendicular bisector, which is taking the segment bisector and perpendicular lines and putting them together. A segment bisector that is perpendicular to a segment. Okay? So if you have line AB and the midpoint of C, and you take your perpendicular lines and it forms a 90-degree angle right through the midpoint. It's a special kind of segment bisector, a special kind of perpendicular line called a perpendicular bisector, when it goes right through the middle of your line segment, right through the midpoint. Okay? Those are the vocab words that you're going to need to know. Now, let's figure out how to construct perpendicular bisectors. Perpendicular bisector. Okay? What we're going to do is you're going to follow along as I give the instructions and we do this one. And then we'll do one together. And then for homework tonight, I think you have 2 of them that you're going to do. Yes? Pardon? Would it have writing on it? Right angle. Perpendicular bisector will have a right angle. You see how I've got the right angle symbol here? Because it forms, that's what the word perpendicular means. It means it forms a right angle. So as long as you've got a right angle, it's perpendicular. If the right angle goes right through the midpoint, it's a perpendicular bisector. Okay? So here we go. Let's learn how to construct a perpendicular bisector. Okay? First one, number 1, you're going to set the compass. Set the compass to a bit more than half. A bit more than half, and then draw an arc Now, here's what I want you to remember to know. When you're drawing your arc, you want a big arc. Okay? A big arc. So, in this case, I'm going to put my compass on point A. I'm going to open it up to a bit more than half, and I'm going to draw a huge arc. Okay? See, I've drawn a huge arc. That's the first step. Okay? Second step, okay, is to keep the compass at the same distance but from the other side. And draw your arc. Here's what I want you to do when you draw this second arc. Make sure, and I'm going to put this in a different color because it's really, really important. Okay? Make sure your arcs, your two arcs, cross each other. Okay? So here's an example of that. I've got my compass. I haven't changed the width or anything like that. I'm going to put it here on point B. And then I'm going to draw my arc and see how my arcs are crossing each other. And it looks kind of like a shield from the Kenyan flag. Okay? Now, point 3, we are going to draw a line. I'm going to call it line CD just for convenience. Line CD that in the intersections of the arc. Where these two arcs come together, those are going to be my points. Okay, get my handy dandy ruler out here. And I'm going to take my ruler and draw a perpendicular line right through these 2 points. Okay? See how I've drawn that points? What do we decide to call it? CD? Okay? Once I have my perpendicular bisector, this tells us two things. Two really cool things when we construct perpendicular bisectors. It tells us that this point right here, that's the midpoint. Okay? We've constructed it, and so we haven't done what we did back here on this other page, where we just kind of eyeballed it. Okay? We didn't do it like here where we eyeballed, that's about the midpoint. No, this one actually is the midpoint. And because we have our arcs looking like this, we know that this here is a right angle. Okay? So we have constructed and shown we can draw perpendicular bisectors wonderfully. We've got right angles, and we found the exact midpoint of that particular line. Okay? Let's do one together. Before I release you to do homework, and you can do them on your own. Oh, got to erase the board. Okay? Let's do this one together. Draw a segment 3 inches long on your paper. I am going to draw mine 10 inches long, because otherwise you can't see it. Okay, what are the labels we're having here? X and Y, right? Okay, so now we're going to construct a perpendicular bisector to X and Y. What is the first thing we have to do? Yes?
Set your protractor so that it's
A little bit more than half. So I'm going to put the tip on X, and then the point on X, and then I'm going to set it just a little bit more than half. Okay? What's the next thing I got to do after I've done that? Yes? Draw a big arc. Okay? So I'm going to put the tip on the point there and draw a big arc. Okay? What's the next step I'm going to do? Do it on the other side. Keeping what? Keeping your compass the same distance apart. You're going to draw it on the other side. Okay? And draw another arc, making sure we do what with our two arcs? Make sure they cross. Make sure they touch each other. Okay? So now we've done step 1 and step 2. What do we do for step 3? Yes? Draw a line. Where are we going to draw our line? Through the middle. We don't know where the middle is. Oh, yeah. From one crossed arc to the other arch that's crossed. So we're going to draw the line right down there. And now we know where our midpoint is, don't we? It's right here. And what did we decide this line segment is going to be called? What? Q, W, L, W, L. Okay? For homework tonight, it's on your paper. Try doing them on your own. I'm going to be here after school if you need any extra help.